You there, Katie?
Yes, okay, thank you. So welcome to the call, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So Doc Fizz is on his way to the airport, away for the weekend. So I'll be hosting the call, and we're very fortunate today to have Jim O'Reilly, who's the Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand, and he's here today to join us for a little bit of weekend motivation. So we'll also have Trevor on the call and Sandy asking some questions. So I am going to hand over to Trevor to kick off the call.
Thanks, Katie. G'day, Jim. You there?
Yeah, mate, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, great. I can actually. Thank you. Great to have you on the call today, Jim. I've got a couple of questions for you actually. In your experience with being involved in another MLM company, what are your insights and how do you feel about our company, Sisel?
Yeah, good question. Our industry is a fairly, finite industry in that there's, I wouldn't say a handful of companies, but, there are compared to other corporate companies in the world, there is a small nucleus of companies that are successful and have longevity in our industry. It's also the industry is also renowned for companies that start up, grow really, really quickly, and then end up dying off pretty quickly. And so I've had the good experience. Sisel's actually the third company that I have worked for in the industry. And the Mowers have been somebody that I've been aware of for a very long time, 13 years. In fact, the other companies that I worked for, we often used to benchmark ourselves against what the Mowers were doing in relation to, products, distributor incentives, retreats, markets that they were opening up in, and the industry is pretty renowned for following trailblazers, and Tom Senior has certainly been a trailblazer for a lot of years. What attracted me to Sisel was a number of things. I was approached by Tom Jr. to come and work for Sisel. Basically, I was, in semi-retirement and doing a bit of consultancy work in the industry, working for another company, and I've known about the Mowers for a long time. And so a number of things really, really appealed to me in that, their commitment to product research is absolutely imperative to the growth and sustainability of a company. And let's face it, a lot of us are working in Sisel so that we can earn ourselves a nice, first of all, be exposed to the best products and then earn ourselves a nice little supplementary income while we're building our business and then having a nice retirement income. And so the fact that Sisel is a perpetual trust. It'll never be bought out. It'll never be sold. It'll never be taken over. The third generation of Mowers are now starting to step up and design and research and formulate product. The Sisel Ripped comes as a result of the fantastic research that Thomas III has done, and the science behind that. And Thomas III is actually the person that I work with. So Thomas III is actually responsible for the Australian market back in corporate head office, and I report into him. So that was the main reason why I joined Sisel. At the ripe old age of 51, I'd love to have another 8 or 9 years working before my wife and I turn 60, and then the plan is to go off and do some nice philanthropic work in the third world. For those of you, I think Katie knows, I took my Christmas holidays and went to Cambodia and did some work over there, and so Sisel is the perfect vehicle. I love the fact that it was still even though it had been going for 4 years, it was still in startup mode here in Australia, and the opportunity was it was a great opportunity. So that's how I feel about Sisel. I think it's a fantastic company. I think it has a ton of potential, and yeah.
That's a great answer, Jim, and it makes us really appreciate having you at the helm down here in Australia. So fantastic answer, thanks, mate. So my next question is what is your current role involved? Where do you see yourself exactly?
Yeah, so it was interesting when I came on. Most of the other companies I've headed up in Australia had already been, registered and established, and all the corporate back office stuff taken care of. Not necessarily the case with Sisel, as you know, and I'm sure there's a few people in Katie's team that have kind of been with Sisel since the start to 3 or 4 years ago. And Sisel basically started with, as you all know, Tom Senior saying, well, I've got this great new company and I've got these great new products, and I want to get them to my friends down there in Australia. And he was getting emails and all of that sort of stuff saying, please come to Australia. So we did that, and for quite a few years he provided product out of the US. So when I came along, my role is to take care of the perfunctory stuff from a corporate perspective. So I'll just go through a few of the list of the things that I deal with, not necessarily every day, but certainly on a day-to-day basis. Company registration, tax compliance, product approvals, product compliance, company registrations, both here and in New Zealand, industry registration, both here and in New Zealand, import licensing and approvals, export licensing and approvals. For those of you who have your own small businesses, you'll know the joy that's associated with BAS statements, GST registration, duties and sales tax, distributor compliance and litigation, logistics. And up until a couple of months ago, I was travelling to New Zealand every 2 or 3 weeks to establish the warehouse over there as well. So there's a lot of things that I do behind the behind the scenes that are necessary for the long-term sustainability of our company. And on top of that, I then have to organise, the tours. We committed to have 3 or 4 tours a year where we would get somebody from corporate to come out. And so, liaising with venues, booking venues, booking speakers, organising travel, accommodation, putting events up on the Eventbrite website. And so there's a lot that, I'm sure people would love me to have a more involved role with, hosting more meetings around the country and stuff like that. And I'm happy to support our leaders, but it's really our infield leaders. And for all the people that are on this call, you are with one of the best and proactive teams that I've been exposed to, not only here in Sisel, but in the last 12 years of the industry. And I know, when you get on these calls with, people in the States and everything, it's all rah, 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 and we love everyone. And, that's a little bit uniquely American, but I'm genuine when I say that Katie is one of the best leaders that I've come across in the industry, not just for Sisel. And so the fact that she has meetings, the fact that she has, calls like this, the fact that she has an upline like Kurt or Doc Fizz, who committed his own time and money to come down to Australia and to work with his teams down here, that's when you're in a really successful organisation. I have, across the 3 companies that I've worked for, You have leaders who are great people, but they sit back and they wait for corporate to organise the meetings, or they wait for corporate to organise the events. And I know it sounds crude, and I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but really what corporate are, when you peel it all back, is we are a supplier to Katie Larkin Proprietary Limited or Trevor Proprietary Limited. We provide product, we provide marketing materials, we provide a website, we provide the opportunity for you to conduct your own business without having to rent a shop or a store, without having to buy stock and have it sitting on the shelves, without having to manage inventory and all of that. That's what corporate does for you guys. And the most successful people in this industry are the people like this group that I'm talking to now, who first of all are committed to the products, which I am, and then secondly, they just start off sharing the product, and then thirdly is once they start getting a network of people, they treat that network like it's their own business. It's a word that a lot of people don't like to use, but it's like their own franchise. It's their business, and they take Sisel to market. So that's a little bit, Trevor, about what I do on a day-to-day basis. Is there any more information you want to know about that, or?
No, thank you, Jim. Thank you for that. And I didn't know you worked so hard, mate, to be honest. And it's good to have that insight. And you've got a lot going on there, mate. And thank you for all those nice words about Katie and I too. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
My next question was going to be, thank you. Yeah, my next question was going to be what makes Sisel unique. I think you pretty well answered that. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Yeah,
look, I've worked for some great companies, and some great companies that have some great products, and some great companies who have great products manufactured by Tom Mauer Senior and Tom Mauer Junior in their company Supernaturals, and so they make products for companies that I've worked for in the past. And as I've shared that in meetings, the integrity of the Mauers are such that these companies get the Mauers to sign a non-disclosure agreement that they won't reveal their formulas and stuff like that as they manufacture product in their Supernaturals business for other companies in our space. And I love it when Tom Senior says, Jim, some of those products are good products. He says, I won't argue with that. He says, but I know the technology, I know the formulations. And he says, Jim, our products are just simply superior. And, Trev, we've seen that in your life and the life of your wife. And as I've travelled around the country, the testimonials about the benefits of our products are just absolutely astounding. So that's what makes Sisel unique, is the research and development. 12 years in the industry, I have never seen a product launch as successfully and as frustratingly successfully as the age pill. As general managers around the world, Scott in Japan, Europe, Aaron for the US, we all had to put in forecasts for what we thought we would sell of the age pill. And, Jimbo's a fairly optimistic bloke, you know what I mean? And I thought, yeah, this would be a good product. So I put in an inordinately high figure. And so did Japan. And to sell out of those forecasts in the first 3 weeks of the product being launched was just absolutely phenomenal. I just, I can't believe, the launch of that product. So, our product range, the research, and now just recently the new compensation plan that they launched, are the three things that make Sisel unique. And in my humble opinion, the best company in the industry and the company with the most potential in the industry.
Yeah, you're right there, Jim. I've never been involved in another company besides Tom's companies. You know, there's just something very special there to make it, you know, very close to my heart. My last question for you, mate, is in your opinion, what does the future hold for Sisel?
Well, there's a number of, so like I said, like many of you, I'm looking for longevity in this business. And I don't mind sharing with Katie and her leaders. So when you join a network marketing company, the success that you gain, both physically by using the products and a business perspective, comes from the growth of the company. You know, the more people that join your organisation that get to use your products, the more financially rewarding it is for you guys. Well, my employment arrangement with the Mowers is very much, even though I work for corporate and I can't have a distributorship here in Australia or any other country for that matter, the employment contract that I've negotiated with them is very, very similar to Trev, your financial arrangement or commitment to Sisel or Sandy's or you know, it's basically geared around a percentage of the growth of Sisel in Australia. And so, you know, I'm investing myself with the hours of work and stuff that I do. And it's not a 9-to-5 job, you know, it never is, but I'm committed to it because, you know, in 5 or 10 years, you know, I promised Katie the other day in a text message, I said, you know, in a couple of years, all of us will be sitting in the Mediterranean, you know, sipping champers because, you know, Sisel's growth and success would be so much so that the incentive trip for that year might be a Mediterranean cruise or something like that. So the future is very, very bright for Sisel. And, you know what makes me say that is because in the 4 years up until now, and even in the last 14 or 15 months since I've been with Sisel, we've had a few unique problems or challenges that wouldn't necessarily, you know, befall an established corporate entity like that. And we launched a new computer system which had hassles and issues. We launched a new distribution strategy from New Zealand which had a few little issues and stuff like that. But we just keep punching ahead. And you know, I often like to share particularly Sandy's successes. You know, I think Sandy went 3-star in December. You know, when all of these sorts of challenges that come with a startup company were kind of at their zenith. And I try to remind people that we are very much in startup mode here, you know, but the future is very, very bright. We've hired a customer service team. Right now they're working 20 hours a week. If things keep trending the way they are, pretty soon that'll be 25 hours a week and then 32 hours a week and so, you know, on it goes. So, you know, there's a great future in Sisel, and I'm invested myself personally, which is probably 60% of the reason, well, 40% of the reason why we work is because we love it, and the other 60% of why we work is because of the money that we get paid and worked. And so I'm as committed as you are, Trev, as Katie, you know, as anybody who's out there sharing Sisel.
Thank you very much for that, mate. And that's some great insights there. I'm actually going to hand over to Sandy now. Jim, she's got a few questions for you, so I'll hand over to Sandy.
No worries.
Thanks, mate.
Hi, Jim. Can you hear me?
I can, mate. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Is it still raining up the coast? I'm in Sydney
yes,
at the moment. I was watching the Commonwealth Games last night, and it was pouring down rain.
Yes, it's getting all overcast again, so keeps raining. Now, I've got to give you some I've got to give you some disappointing news. I'm not 3-star yet, unfortunately. I'm only 2. But boy, I'm striving to get there, because you've said that a few times, and I think, oh, I wish I was 3-star, but I will get there.
maybe I'm trying to project it.
Wow. Now, Jim, what actually motivates you every day to keep working and doing what you do with your daily challenges?
Well, as you know, Sandy, I'm a bit of a person type of person. You know, the way people feel and is very important to me, and I'm quite a loyal person in that I have a very small circle of friends, and those friends that I do have I'm extremely loyal to, and I've known about Tom Mauer Senior. I've known of him for many years. I've known Tom Junior for many years. And yeah, look, I would be lying if I didn't tell you, based on everything I've shared on the phone call earlier, that there haven't been challenges in my role, and that sort of stuff. But I made a commitment to Tom Junior and Tom Senior that I would help them establish their company here in Australia. Now, what I love about that is Tom Senior doesn't have to do this. You know, he's financially comfortable now for the rest of his life. He does it because he's passionate about it. He genuinely wants to help people fight off the rigors of age. He wants to help people get healthy. He wants to give people the best possible options. And he's, those of us who have attended his meetings, he's pretty passionate about that. And so that's what, I made that commitment to those men. And so, at times when it gets, pretty tough and you think, I could be doing something else, I remind myself, nah, you're a man of your word, Jim, and you give these men the commitment. And so that's why sometimes you'll see on social media and stuff, I'm a bit guilty of getting a bit defensive of when people start, criticising the Mowers or making comments about how much money Tom Senior must be making. If they only knew, Sandy, to be honest with you, the salary that Tom Senior takes from this company is less than mine, and that shocks a lot of people when I say that. So that's what motivates me to keep going, and the fact that we do have the best products on the market. And I've just got back from the US, and one thing that Senior and Junior noticed when they saw me is just how much healthier I'm looking. I've lost 14 kilos. I was growing grey. I was showing the rigours of, age and stress and a somewhat sedentary lifestyle. I've changed that a little bit now, but I can only put that down to, this regime that I've been following, that Tom Senior put me on when we were sitting in the airport lounge when I was coming back from corporate a year ago. So yeah, I hope, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And you are so loyal, and you do a fantastic job. So, I've got to take my hat off to you for everything that you have to do. So, what would you suggest for people that do have fears in their business? What do you suggest for them how to work through those fears to keep going in their business?
Yeah, look, as I've travelled the country, we have great distributors. We have great preferred customers, and we have great distributors. But they see me talking in a meeting, or they might see Katie, talking in a meeting. Like the last meeting I had with Katie down in Melbourne with Doc Fizz, they went through the whole product range, and Katie knew everything about every product that she put up. And so people look and say to me, oh, Jim, I can't possibly do that. I can't do what you do and stuff like that. And, my advice to them is, well, you don't have to do that. You don't have to have a meeting. You don't have to book a hall and hope to get 15 people and stand up there with a PowerPoint presentation and stuff like that. But you could probably sit in your lounge room or at your dining room table or at the coffee shop down the road with your computer, and you know, you can start talking about the products that you're using and how the products are, you know, affecting you, and your friends will already have noticed that and have, you know, brought it up. That's why you're meeting with them, and so that's how it all starts. It just starts with a conversation and an invitation for people to start using the products, and then once they start using the products, normally within 2 or 3 weeks of using Sisel product, people start seeing benefits. Some people see it quicker than that. Some people see it slightly longer than that. Then you can talk about the next conversation is, well, let me show you how you can get these products for free. Would you like these products for free? Absolutely. How do you do that? Well, you go off and just find 2 more people that need the products like you needed them. And if you need me to come along and talk to them with you, I will do that for your first couple of goes. But then after that, you're away. And then once people start getting their product for free, you know, no freight, any of that sort of stuff, you know, because it's all getting covered from their network of friends who are using the product, then it's a great opportunity then to get 4 or 5 people together and start talking about the fantastic compensation plan. Because, Sandy, one of the problems that I find in the industry, and this has been with any company, we get so excited about our company, about our products, and about our compensation plan that we give our new people or our prospectives information overload. You know what I mean? When it gets to the business side and talking about the compensation plan, we want to tell them everything, all 12 levels, when really we should be saying, I'll show you how you can get your products for free. And then when they do that, they come back to you and say, or you say to them after 2 or 3 months of that, let me sit down and show you how you can make $500 a month. Would $500 a month be good for you? Yeah, $500 a month would be great for me. And that's basically how you do it.
Yep, that's great. So basically, that would be, you know, to be successful as a distributor in Sisel, 3 skills that you would suggest. Basically, that's what you've just said, really. Hey.
Yeah. And you know, they don't have to be a scientist. They don't have to be a dietitian. They don't have to be a naturopath. You know, they don't have to have any of those skills. They just need to have their own personal experience with the product. So that would be number 1. Number 2, they've got to have a desire to share. And we, as leaders, we've got to let people know that, you know, only about 3 out of every 10 people that we talk to or invite will say, yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. Now, those numbers increase when those people are amongst your network of family and friends who notice, you know, the huge improvement in your health and stuff like that. They generally tend to be a little bit more attentive. And, you know, as you've probably experienced too, Sandy, when you start telling people that we're a network marketing company, oh, it's not one of those, is it? There's a lot of that out there. If they bring up that concern, you know, you just say, yeah, it is one of those, but let me just talk to you about the products, you know, and, you know, then it, you know, it's a little bit less threatened. So, you know, you share your product experience. And then, you know, it's just as simple as inviting them to use the product. And how you invite them, you know, that's completely up to yourself. I've had people that say, look, I'll contribute, you know, half, or I'll contribute 20% to your first order to get you going. You know, I'm happy to do that for you. And you know, my experience has always been the preference is to get them to commit to themselves personally. Then they're in it for the long haul. But yeah, they would be the 3 steps, and again, you don't have to have a room full of 15 or 20 people. You can just have a couple of girlfriends over for coffee, and away you go.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. Now, I know you've been to Utah a few times now. Paul and I went in 2016 and had the opportunity of going through the manufacturing plant at Sisel. What are your thoughts of the manufacturing plant?
Well, it is, it is a state-of-the-art facility, and you can always tell how good a facility is by how many of your competitors are using it to have their products manufactured there. And so it is impressive. It's probably the largest manufacturing facility I've ever been through, and what's really amazing about that, Sandy, is that right now it's only at about 40% capacity. I mean, you've been through the huge acreage over there. I think he's only got 3 of the 5 stages that he has ultimately planned for that plant that are actually, constructed and being used. And, he's purchased it. He's purchased the land. He's developed it down there with future growth in mind. And that's the one benefit of having a family that started a company in their garage and, sold it for, it was valued at $1 billion when they sold it, and they ended up, selling it for 750,000 or 730 million. They know what's now required to accommodate that sort of growth, and so that's why he's built the manufacturing facility the way he has, and he opens it up in stages to cater to the growth, which is just amazing.
Yeah, no, it certainly is amazing to go through. It's one thing we really enjoyed doing that. Well, that's all my questions.
And another interesting thing about the manufacturing facility is, so everybody in Australia here might know Terry White Pharmacies or, Chemist Warehouse or those types of pharmaceutical chains. In America, they have a company called Walgreens, which is a huge chemist chain. They call them drug stores in the US. And I think Tom Jr. was sharing with me that about something like 15% of our manufacturing facility is being used manufacturing, nutraceuticals for that particular pharmaceutical chain. So that's pretty significant. Excuse me.
Yep. Okay, that's all for my questions. Thank you very much, Jim. You did a fantastic job.
No problems.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Sandy. So thank you, Jim, for joining us today. That was absolutely fabulous. Some insightful information there and really valuable tips for everyone to listen to, and the recording will be sent out by Doc Fizz. So thanks for joining us, Jim, and I really appreciate it.
No worries. And just a reminder or a plug or a promo for the Mauer Mountain incentive for all of our people. It just went live. Well, they put the information up on the website in the last 24 or 48 hours, and it's been backdated to the 1st of March. It's a great opportunity to qualify and get over to the US to receive some training and, of course, have a nice US experience. We are looking at doing something a little bit extra for the Australians who make the way, for the 15 hours. That's to LA, and then a couple of hours layover, and then an hour and a half into Salt Lake. So we're looking at adding a day or two on for the Australians, and as soon as we get that signed off on, we'll be letting people know. But that's a great little incentive for you to get, first of all, exposed to the Mauers firsthand, receive training at their feet, if you will, and also to network with other people from around the world, Europe, Japan, the US and Canada, on how they build their businesses. And, Katie, it's really funny. You and I often talk and email and text about some of the challenges and stuff that we have here in Australia. one of our biggest growing groups in the US at the moment is an Amish community in Pennsylvania. Now, the Amish community, they don't have phones per se. They don't have computers. They don't have websites, any of that sort of stuff. And they're one of our largest organisations. I went on the cruise in March, 5 months after I joined the company. And here's this group of Amish people dressed up in their Amish clothes with their Amish hats on the largest cruise ship in the world. And I got talking to them, and they are the most fascinating, dedicated, hardworking people. And all they do is network and talk and share and invite. That's all they do. And they don't fly. They don't use technology like that. They actually hired a driver to drive them in a couple of vans, 15-seater vans, all the way from Pennsylvania to Fort Lauderdale, which is kind of like driving from Adelaide to Brisbane, the same sort of miles. And so I like to use them when people start talking about, oh, gee, it's hard to do Sisel business here in Australia. You know,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's amazing. Mm.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. It's really true. It's really about, they just get out there and start talking amongst themselves and sharing it, and it's incredible. So fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Great to be with you today, guys.
Yeah, thanks again, and thanks everyone for joining the call, and I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll hopefully hear you on the call next week. Thanks, everyone.